You know what I really dislike about winter? Is not really the cold. I mean, okay, I dislike the cold, but what I dislike more is the fact that it's getting dark at around 9 p.m. So you wake up in the morning in order to start your day, and it's dark outside, and you're figuring out that there's no way I should be up at this hour. And then when you go to bed, it's also dark. So you wake up in the dark, you go to sleep in the dark. It's dark everywhere. I think like from 4 p.m. it actually starts getting dark. Horrible. Absolutely horrible. Maybe I should move closer to the equator. I heard it's a lot more fun there. Still, I guess it could be worse. It could be the North Pole. You have months of darkness at the North Pole. It's like a long night, they call it. The long dark. It's very unpleasant. But yes, I got Antifa Romania saying, let's go, Brandon. So I'll tell you this again because Antifa Romania wasn't here last time. But this is actually a thing that happened. It's kind of sounds like an everyone clap type of story. But no, it actually happened. I was waiting at the bus station a couple of days ago. And the bus wasn't coming. So you have now a lot of people waiting at the bus station. And I was just like, oh, how long is it going to take? And then I hear that some guy that was sitting next to me is checking his phone. And he's saying, oh, look, the bus drivers are striking. They want higher wages. And now they're striking. And the guy next to him says with a perfect English accent, goes like, let's go, Brandon. And I'm like, and so in Romania, in my town, okay, like just random dude on the street is like, oh, the bus drivers are striking. Yes, let's go, Brandon. He didn't even say the Romanian version. It's like, say, Dămbice, Brandon. No, none of that. This was very funny. So people ask me about the temperatures that we're getting here. I think in Romania I have both the worst extremes. There have been summers where the temperature has went up to 35 degrees Celsius. So when it's 35 outside, you can have old people just falling down. It's horrible. I mean, the summer can sometimes kill. And usually you have like you're being encouraged to stay in home, like don't go outside because you can get a heat stroke. So that's the summer. During the winter, there have been winters that went to minus 20, minus 22. Just so you can understand how that is, there was the case of a young girl who was waiting at the bus stop, and while she was waiting, her ear got frostbite, so they had to amputate that. I mean, it is so cold that when you're breathing, you feel the air hurting your lungs. So those are the extremes. Obviously, like, not every summer does it get that hot. Not every winter does it get that cold. But you do get the extremes. And I don't really like the weather where I happen to live. I would have preferred being in London where it's raining all the time. Romania is Iberia in summer and Siberia in winter. Yes, exactly. That is such a good quote. Yes, like you have the desert in the summer and you have Siberia in the winter. It's very weird. And there's actually the desertification. Like, how do they call it when the land turns into a desert? Like, that actually exists in some parts of the country. So, yeah. Minus 22, it's really bad. I mean, it's not as bad as in Norway or in Siberia. You can get people from those places and they will tell you, oh, I know the cold. It's like, okay, you know the cold, but you don't know the heat. All right, I know both the cold and the heat. So the only bad thing about it is that you have to pay a lot of money, right? So during the summer, you kind of have to run the AC most of the time. So you spend a lot of money on that, and during the winter you have to run the heating all of the time. So you have to spend a lot of money on like that. So whatever you do, you have to spend money, and this is what I really hate about my country. Well, not my country, but the climate in which my country happens to reside in. All right, let's talk about the election. All right, so this is something that I find absolutely fascinating. Virginia votes as poll experts say white backlash. could power Republican win. Okay, so just remember the term white backlash. And then when you go to the New York Times, they also have a very interesting thing to say about it. Just scroll down a little bit. I think this is the one. Nope. I mean, just down. Okay, so on one hand you have the white backlash, but on the other hand you have the New York Times. I can't really find the quote. I happened to save it, but they were saying that it's the reason that the white working class is to blame for the election, right? So it's white people and working class people. Here we got it. I found it. So this is from the New York Times. There are signs of high turnout in Virginia, but not many clues about who may benefit. High turnout is assumed to help Democrats, but Republicans stand to gain if more white working class voters go to the polls. Right? So white backlash, white working class people. And then you also have this on CNN.
Yeah, let's be clear. Some of it was dog whistle.
Yeah.
Right? Some of it was dog whistle racism.
1000%.
But
Racism, dog whistle racism, right? So it's kind of interesting because you have the media, which is very partisan, kind of implying that the Democrats offer absolutely nothing to working class people anymore and white people, which is kind of interesting because when you get into power, you have to govern over everyone. So they're admitting like, no, it's identity politics now. And if you're in this category of people, the politician offer absolutely nothing to you. Now, I want to show you the opposite story. And this is what actually happened that night, that fateful evening.
What you are looking at...
Okay, this is the white supremacy they're talking about. This is the white backlash. And this is who the Republicans have nominated as the lieutenant governor. Alright? So just so you understand where the racism is at. And notice that not a single mainstream media channel wants to discuss this. Like, no one is touching this with a 10-foot pole. She, apparently, is something that the left usually loves. A person that makes history. Now, it used to be that to make history, you had to invent penicillin. You had to invent the electrical light bulb or something, right? Like, that's a person that made history. Now, you just have to have the correct pedigree, the correct gender, the correct race, the correct sexual orientation, the correct identity, and be the first of that identity to get a job, and you have made history. Now, what's interesting is that no one remembers, for example, like if you go to a leftist and you go like, quick, tell me who the first black superhero is. Like, they won't know to tell you that, but the marketing, when you have a movie and it's like the first blah, it's like, oh my god, this is the first blah. Everyone, clap, clap. This is astonishing. It's the first blah. Right? Like, for example, now I believe the latest one was like the first female 5-star admiral. And I'm willing to bet 10 years from now, you go to a leftist and you ask him, it's like, who is the first female 5-star admiral? What year? Who is she? Give me the name. He won't be able to do it. But if you go to a person that's like, who invented the light bulb? Come on, tell me. They will be able to know, right? Which is a culture of fakeness. But if we are operating based on the culture of fakeness, here you have the first female of color that is lieutenant governor. She's also an immigrant. I mean, all the check boxes. Literally every single checkbox. There isn't a single checkbox that's not filled. Okay, maybe because she's not transgender. Maybe that's why they're not interested yet. Like if she was transgender, maybe then the New York Times would celebrate this. I don't know. But listen to this.
Is the American dream. The American dream.
Making history, the Associated Press declaring Winsome Sears the winner in Virginia's lieutenant governor's race, making her the first female and woman of color elected to statewide office in the Old Dominion.
I would like to clap. Bravo. Excellent. History has been made. Congratulations. This is monumental, groundbreaking. No one on the right cares about this, obviously. this is just what the left cares about all the freaking time. But here on the right, people care about her ideology, about her platform, about what she actually wants to do once she got elected. That's what people care about. That's why people vote for representatives. It's not for the skin color, for the pedigree. Okay, it's not like a cat competition and you need the correct pedigree for the cat to be able to win the beauty contest. No, it's about ruling a nation. Governing a nation, right? So it's important, like, what do you want to do once you get there? What are your policies? What are you trying to achieve? What are you trying to accomplish? What are you bringing on the... That's what matters in normal people land. In La La Land is the pedigree. Like, but does your cat have a pedigree? Can you prove that it's a breed of the cat? Like, literally, that's how the left is operating now. It's like cat beauty contests.
Born in Jamaica, Sears is a mother of 3, a former state legislator, a business owner, and a Marine veteran. And Sears is not shy about her support for the Second Amendment, posting this picture that went viral.
So I've been told time and time again on the Twitter that right-wingers do not like seeing black people with guns. Not a single not one, like I'm telling you, not a single right-winger that I have seen was upset about this picture. And why should you be? Like, there is no reason. And also, I love the way she holds the full semi-auto, because her finger is not on the trigger. Alright, so if the finger is not on the trigger, that is the correct way of holding it. Mr. Baldwin.
Of herself bearing arms at a gun range. She also spoke last night of being a Marine and an immigrant in a patriotic speech.
I am not even first generation American. When I joined the Marine Corps, I was still a Jamaican. But this country had done so much for me, I was willing to die for this.
Look at the racists cheering. Why are the racists cheering? Like, look, I was told by The Guardian that the vote is a white backlash. Okay, let's listen to the white backlash. Why are the people cheering there? Why are they so excited?
Country.
My God, these racists, you know what they did? They looked at the left and they listened to the left. It's like, okay, the left is winning, but why? And they realized that left-wing people keep saying diversity is our strength. So what they're doing now is they're like using the strength of the left to empower themselves. Like, okay, you know what? We can be diverse as well. So the racists, they hire diversity officers and now they have equity and inclusion programs. And that's why they're winning. Because now they're empowered, huh? Is that how it works?
USA.
I mean, honestly, is there... Like how many right-wingers are looking at this and they're complaining? And meanwhile, these are the titles. These are the white backlash, white working class men, evil Christian evangelicals. Thank you for the super chat, Sarah. First man on the moon, first female person of color on the moon. Yeah. No, but like, seriously, how? You know, I get it. Like, I know why the mainstream media does this, right? Like, I know why they keep saying these things. Like, for example, this one. Let me remind you guys, right? I know why the media keeps saying this.
Yeah, let's be clear. Some of it was dog whistle.
Yeah.
Right? Some of it was dog whistle racism.
Right? Dog whistle, racism, dog whistle. Racism. 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 I know why they're doing this. But what I don't get is the people that actually listen. Like their actual followers and the actual viewers who listen to that and they get one narrative and it's like, okay, you know, white people, very racist. And then they look at this video footage and they see right-wingers cheering as a woman of color manages to become lieutenant governor. And they voted for her, okay? Like, she didn't manage to get it through the back door. There wasn't like a diversity initiative to make her become the lieutenant governor. No, she went there with a campaign. She promised people some shit and she got elected. Like, that is... I don't know any bigger meritocracy than this. Like, you just cannot have. Okay? I mean, maybe you can have, because probably she even had less money than her opponent. But how can a person who watches CNN or MSNBC and then watches this not get a little bit of a mental disconnect? Like a little wheel just grinding in the head to a halt. The vote counters didn't get sleepy, says Zenith. Oh, they did get a little bit sleepy. Apparently in Fairfax, they had the issue with the fax machine. The fax machine. The copy machine. They had that issue. But, I guess it's because James Lindsay was saying on the Twitter, it's because of the vaccine mandates. Maybe they were understaffed. And they didn't have enough personnel to operate the machine properly. Thank you, Bear. I appreciate that. By the way, I'll probably have to make a video about this on my main channel. So if you're watching this, spoiler alert, I'll put it on my main channel. Because, everyone needs to see this. And because I think I know what's happening. I think I know why the mental disconnect. It's because people don't watch CNN and Fox News. Like, the ones that watch Fox News watch only Fox News. The ones that watch CNN watch only CNN. When you watch both, and you get to see what is missing, because usually, the way the media manipulates isn't by outright lying to you, but it's by omitting things, putting things out of context, pretending that something didn't happen, laser focusing on a small event. That's how they're doing it. So you need to watch left-wing and right-wing sources if you want to be objectively informed about what's happening in the world. And this is the perfect example. I mean, it's not just CNN. It's the New York Times. It's the Guardian. It's like every single leftist publication. Racism. And by the way, just so you can understand, even if you look at the main candidates, Youngkin and whatever his other name is, they're both white people. So you have two white people, but apparently if you vote for one white person, you're a racist, but if you vote for the other white person, you're a progressive. Fun fact, there was a third candidate. No one talks about the third candidate because obviously no one expected her to win. She was a black woman. So if anything, if you are a racist, you'd have voted for the Democrat candidate. If you're a progressive, you'd have voted for the independent. I just cannot understand how this ideology manages to exist. It is so fake. It is so blatantly fake. They don't care about identity politics one little bit. It's like Justin Trudeau going on and talking about the LGBTQ2I. He stumbled. He couldn't say the acronym. He couldn't say the LGBTQ. He couldn't do that. Because he doesn't give a shit. He doesn't care. It's a talking point. It's just a vector so that he can use to hammer people with his politics. That's what it is. He doesn't care about any of these things. Again, I'm not blaming the media. The media is doing the right thing. It's working. If it's working, why would they change it? But what I don't get is the people that are watching it. If you're a person that legitimately likes what the Democratic candidate has to offer, and you want to vote for him because of that, sure. If you think that, okay, if I call my opponents racist, it's going to disincentivize them from voting, okay, that is cynical behavior. I get that. Not moral, but cynical behavior. But you have people that actually believe right-wingers are racist. These are the racists, look.
Beautiful. Well, you wouldn't have seen that speech, Juan, if you were watching CNN and MSNBC, who just chose not to air it. Don't you think that deserved airtime? That's a pretty notable...
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That is literally what I'm saying. That is how the media lies. They do not cover things. There was even an interview from Vox, which YouTube considers an authoritative source, and what they did was they actually talked about the most important thing in journalism. Carlos Maza was the one saying it. Most important thing in journalism. Do you know what it is? It's not fact-checking, it's not reporting, it's not editorializing, no, it's gatekeeping. That's literally what he considers the most important thing in journalism, gatekeeping. So you have information, the one that you don't like, you don't cover, the one that you like, you promote. I mean, can you imagine if I were to, I don't know, have a television station and talk about cases of malpractice in hospitals, nonstop? I'm not saying they don't, because obviously they exist, right? But if you laser focus on them and you cover them 24/7, what's going to end up happening is that the people are legitimately going to start being afraid of hospitals. This has happened to my grandmother, and I talked about it, and I'll talk about it again because I think it's very important. So, when we had communism here, most of the money that was allocated to the police was focused on fixing thought crimes. So any crime against the regime, if you complain that it's too cold in your house, if you complain that austerity measures exist, if you complain about anything about the regime, you would have been locked up. So thought crimes was the most important thing that the police was focusing on. And because of that, actual crimes were not a priority. So they would arrest thieves, obviously, but you are more likely to be caught if you committed thought crime than if you actually stole or robbed or raped or anything like that, right? Like those were low priority for the cops. So in order to hide this, the newspapers, which were controlled by the government, they would never report crimes at all. Like in the newspaper, you would never find about anything criminal. Ever. The only time that was an exception was when there was Romania's, I believe, first serial killer, a man by the name of Romania. And that caused like a major national freak out. Like people that were even cities away from where that serial killer was operating were afraid. Because people just didn't know what it's like to see crime happening in the news, right? So the news never presented any criminal activity ever. You could have a bank robbery, it wasn't mentioned. So, what ends up happening is that my grandmother, and many people like her, slept with their door open. Like, she wouldn't bother locking the door to her house because she felt safe. She felt secure. In reality, the crime level was astonishing. Now, once the Soviet regime falls down, Romania's communism follows. People that worked in the media noticed that it's good for clickbait. Well, not clickbait. Back then it was good for selling papers if you scared people. And how do you scare people? You talk about crimes. There were newspapers and television networks that I would call them the bedsheet and the morgue. Why? Because all they would talk about are rapes and murders. It was like this 70-year-old woman got raped. This 80-year-old man got shot. This blah, blah, blah. So like nonstop. That's it. Like, that was the 5 o'clock news. Just random cases where something bad happened. So what happens? My grandmother now not only locks her door, but barricades her door. Like, she actually put the table in front of the door every night. Because she felt scared. Why? Because, well, it's a phenomenon that people in Romania call media terrorism. They terrified the older generation so that they keep staying glued to the television to wait to see what's happening next, to wait to see, oh my God, did something bad happen in my city? Oh, is the police going to do something? Oh, blah, blah. And what's interesting is that the crime level was incredibly higher back when my grandmother was sleeping with her door open, but it was also incredibly low when she was barricading her door. But I want to tell people the power of the media, the power of the press. Like, just how insurmountable power these people have over controlling average citizens and manipulating them. And I could have gone and brought the statistics from my law school and show it to my grandmother and show, like, look, the crime level is really low. You live in this area of town. There have been no burglaries in this area of town for decades. Okay, just stop panicking. She wouldn't stop panicking. It didn't work. Like, she knew what she was seeing on television, and she was afraid that it would happen in her house. Adrian goes, isn't she dead? Yes, but she used to be alive, Adrian. I know this is shocking, but dead people used to be alive and they live behind memories. God. Yes, she is dead. God rest her soul. I mean, to be honest, regarding my grandmother, she used to live alone. So we're talking about an elderly woman, lived alone, and yeah, I mean, she was afraid that someone could break into her house. And again, like that never happened ever, but I guess, like what can you do? If it wasn't for the television, I don't think she would have lived with so much fear. Check Twitter DMs. Republicans didn't even need to spend as much money this election. So yeah, it's what I'm telling you. I said, like, being elected, like this black lady who got elected, it's the epitome of meritocracy. In fact, the only difference is that some people may have more money than others. But even with less money, she managed to get elected. So more details have emerged on truck driver Edward Durr, Republican, who looks all but certain to oust New Jersey State Senate President. He raised $10,000 for his campaign, but only spent $153. I mean, this is insane, man. Like, wow. If this is true, this is like the most insane thing ever. So a truck driver spent $153 on his New Jersey election campaign. That is wow. You know what? It reminds me of a case in Russia. Are you guys ready for stories in Russia? There was a mayor who, in a city, had to run by himself, and apparently, like, that's not okay for his image, right? Like, it's not really okay when you're the only person running. So he actually asked the cleaning lady from the city hall to run as well, just so that there's a fake candidate. And the cleaning lady won. Let me see if I can find this, because it's like it's actually recent. So cleaning lady wins city hall, Russia. I love how it's described by the BBC. Russian cleaner, as if it's a Hitman 47 level of shit. It's like said in the cleaner. So Russian cleaner sweeps to power. 35-year-old cleaner is downing her dusters to move into the boss's seat after winning an election earlier this month. When no one in the village signed up to challenge Nikolai Loktev, who's from the pro-Kremlin United Russia party, he persuaded Ms. Ugodovskaya to register as his rival to ensure the minimum requirement of 2 candidates. That plan backfired when the cleaner beat him by a landslide. Nikolai Loktev found no one would vote for her and he would stay in the job. But the people had had enough, and they came out and chose Marina Udogovskaya as a member of the local electoral commission, told BBC from Povaliknyo. He was amazed she was flabbergasted. He was amazed that she was flabbergasted. The woman who didn't want to be identified laughed down the phone line. She says she had personally heard Mr. Loktev asking the cleaner to stand against him. She says that she didn't do anything. She stopped answering her phone and is keeping a low profile ahead of her inauguration. But in one early interview, she appeared stunned by her win, describing herself as a fake candidate who was not ready for such a rapid promotion. Yes, she did wipe the floor with I don't think people would actually vote for me. I didn't do anything at all. Even though so, she got 62% of the vote. Neither candidate campaigned actively ahead of the election. No billboards, no flyers, no meetings with voters. Locals argue there's no point when everyone knows everyone else. Polikivno dotted her brightly painted one-story wooden buildings is the largest of the 30 villages. Clearly people wanted change. I think she'll cope. I think she'll cope. Some have suggested the result was a protest against Mr. Loktev United Russia Party. No, you think? The party won 32% of the vote. Elsewhere, a strategy of smart voting pushed by opposition politician Navalny backed into the candidates, blah, blah, blah. If we could have voted against all, we would have, but we had the option to vote for either the current mayor or for Marina. So we did vote for Marina. I think she'll cope. The whole village will help. Though, of course, her education needs a bit of a boost. Jesus Christ. Like it or not, Mrs. Udovskaya is stuck with her new job. If she refused the role, the Pensioners Party, which is backing her, says she'd have to pay for the entire election to be rerun. So she actually has to be the mayor. If she prefers to paint its candidate as a Cinderella figure than an accidental winner. She was working in the administration as a cleaner and saw how everything was done. And of course, in her heart, she got the idea of taking the part. She was a housewife and didn't know anything either. Now she's at the peak of her popularity, people say. I'm not upset, the previous mayor said. People voted for her, so let her do her job. I think it's salty. I don't know, chat. I think it's very salty. I think... I think he's a little bit disappointed of the result. Look at this, it's like, I'm not upset. Yeah, it does sound like a clean election. I don't think there's anything bad about her being in charge of the place she used to clean. It means she knows her way around. Oh my god. He is so salty. He is absolutely salty. Let me show you just how salty he is. This is just so you can understand how it was at this campaign. This is probably what happens in his house with his friends.
Down here, salt is a way of life.
Obviously, the environment down here is all salt. The ceiling's salt, the floor is salt, the walls are salt, and to an extent, the air is salt.
Well, I mean, to be honest, being in a city hall, like if you're in a small village, you really can't do a lot of damage. The worst damage you can do is not attract funds for the village in order to build stuff. So like the worst, if you have a corrupt mayor or something like that, the worst thing that can happen is that you will have things stay the same. So like normally, and I'll tell you this from a perspective of an Eastern European village, maybe there are some houses that don't have access to heating or sewage yet. And you want the mayor to make the correct contracts and deals so that you can get your house all gassed up. But if you have a bad mayor, that's not going to happen. So, you know, maybe the roads aren't going to be repaired, that type of thing. But if it's a village, they probably don't really have good roads anyway. Especially not in Russia. So I can see that she's going to do a fairly well job. It doesn't require much experience. And by the way, like being a mayor, the whole system is designed to have people with no experience taking the charge, because that's the idea of democracy, right? So that even the peasant can manage to achieve the position of power if people vote for him. Now, let's look at some of the cope that we get from social justice activists and, the New York Times writers. And this is what I love the most about being a journalist, right? They're not just talking about what's happening. They're not just talking about what's in front of you. They're explaining to you what you need to understand, right? So Republicans try to make critical race theory a central part of the Virginia governor's race, but parents' anger over schools may have had more to do with pandemic shutdowns. So like all the videos that you saw with parents being upset, all of the videos that you've seen with Youngkin actually tackling critical race theory, all of that, no, it's not true, all right? No, let me tell you what really happened. Not to mention, like, why can't it be both? Why can't it be both? But I'll show you something else about why the left is upset, right? Because if you look at this, you have most important issues according to the people in Virginia, right? So the first important issue is the economy and the jobs. Imagine that, you know, if only we can save one life. Oh, one life. If only we can save. Oh, no. Oh, I'm going to shut you down. 33% of people care about putting food on the fucking table. How can you separate the idea of economy and the idea of a person's life? The person's life is the economy. They're intertwined. Without a job, a person can't put food on the table, he can't pay for medicine, he can't pay for shelter. Who the fuck came up with the concept that the economy and a person's livelihood isn't the same shit? Anyway, education. Second part is education. Now, here's the thing. Okay, and this is how a lot of people believe. It's like just because you go to school, you have an education. Bullshit. Absolute bullshit. If you go to school and they teach you religion, they teach you philosophy, or not even philosophy. Okay, if I go to a school and they teach my kid the history of urban warfare, that's not an education. It's useless shit that he can't apply in real life. Why doesn't the school teach you how to do your taxes, how to start a business? Why doesn't it teach you that? I'm not even caring about how to read and write. I'm pretty sure most kids learn how to read and write without the school. But what I'm trying to say is like, why doesn't the school teach you actual practical things? How to change a fucking light bulb? I have no idea. I need to summon my wife, whatever the light... No, seriously, like, you think I'm joking. But like the old light bulbs, they were so easy to fix, like you just spin them around and you would pull them out. Now the light bulb that I'm having, I have to push upwards, pull downwards, and also press in the middle. Like what the fuck is that? Holy shit, like who made such a complicated thing? They didn't taught me in school. I almost pulled down the entire lamp. I'm not kidding, Abaddon. It's true. It's complicated. How to buy stonks. Yes, another thing they don't teach in school. What are stonks? Another thing that they should teach in school. How does the economy work? What is supply and demand? How the taxes work? What are indirect taxes? You know, like actual useful things that you would think everyone should know. But no, they don't teach you that. They don't teach you that in school at all. So just because you went to school doesn't mean you got an education. And that's what Jungian was talking about. Like you go to school and they teach you critical race theory. How is that going to serve you in life? Man, I have changed the light bulb, but there's like the light bulb that I used to grow up with. Let me show you. Okay. This is something that I know how to change. Like I am aware on how to change this. But they don't make these anymore. I had to change some LED bullshit that you had to push upwards on the lamp, and at the same time you had to pull downwards on the LED, and you also had to press your finger sideways on two clamps at the same time. You had to do all these three things at the same time. I was actually afraid that I'm going to break it. Let me hold on a little bit because my phone dropped the connection. And by the way, like a lot of people talk about the child predators. I'll show you the meme, okay? Because I understand people want to see the meme. So you need to keep an eye out for child predators, right? So you have the kid giving this guy cigarettes and then telling this guy to get in the van because she has some Nintendos. And then the FBI is coming in and she's arresting the child predator while putting a warm blanket onto the poor man. Like when I saw this, I had to stay for like a minute just to process, like what the fuck, and then when I got it, it's like, oh, I see. In mid-2000s, they did teach stonks economics in your high school. Well, they didn't teach it in mine. But I'll tell you something else about education. In America, and I think I talked about this, but you get you get the government backing your loan if you want to go to a university. So if you want to go to whatever university, you can get a loan. Why? Because the government backs it. So you can get even $100,000. Now, you get crippling student debt because of it. The university goes, oh, the government is backing it. Well, then we can raise the price. Then we can raise the price of tuition. We can make it $100,000, right? This is why universities in America are so expensive compared to the ones in Europe. But if you want to open a job, the government doesn't back it. Why not make a law so that if you want to make a loan to start your own business when you're 18, you can do that, but you can't make a loan for a university? How about that? How about that? So you're 18, and let's say you want to invest money to buy a truck because you want to become a trucker. You really love being a trucker. So you go to the bank, you ask money for a truck, and they will give you the money. The government backs the loan, just like student debt. Exactly the same, similar process. And then you become a truck driver, but you can't then make another loan for a university. So you have to choose. Do you want to start your own business, or do you want to become a university student? Maybe you want to start, I don't know, a company that hires plumbers. And you want to buy a room, like a place where you can have your company headquarters, and you're going to hire some people, and you're going to be able to advertise. Huh? Why can't you do that? Probably cheaper than the university loan, and it's your own business. You can probably pay it even faster. Romania doesn't have a trucker culture, though we do have truckers, yes. Yes, the truck prices would go brrr. But I'll tell you what, even if the truck prices would go... well, actually, no, hold on. No, I don't think so. I don't think the truck prices would go brrr, because not everyone will want to be a trucker, right? Like some people maybe want to be plumbers. So they're going to buy other things. It's equally distributed across the economy. So you don't just have like people who want to be truckers, you might have people who want to go to university. So I don't really think you're going to notice like such a huge inflation, but I'm talking like from the individual person, it makes a difference. Like if a person actually wants to buy a car in order to, I don't know, do online deliveries or become a Uber or a taxi driver, right? Like he wants to start his own business. Why not? Yeah, we do have lots of truckers, but I don't think we have a trucking culture. I mean, maybe there is, but I'm not privy to it. It's definitely not the same like you have in the US, where you have companies advertising specifically for truckers. You have movies and TV shows that focuses on truckers, and you don't have that. Yeah, you can have electrician loan, plumbing loan, carpeting loan, mason loan, trucking loan. You won't have a shortage because it would be distributed evenly, and most people will still want to go to university anyway, right? But it would allow the opportunity for people who want to open a job, and it will be so funny to see a trucker laughing his ass off from his colleague that was more educated, went to university, and now he's jobless, and meanwhile the trucker is raking in cash. Yeah, US definitely has a heavy trucker culture. You also have like a biker culture in the United States. I do know there is a biking culture in Romania. Most traders have to go to school to be certified. Yeah, I mean, that's not a problem. I mean, you can make a loan and go to the electrical school, but I'm talking about like opening a business. Most startups just fall. It's better to work for someone else for a couple of years, learn the ropes. Yeah, like apprenticeship. There's a reason why apprenticeship is actually the thing that withstood the test of time. I mean, apprenticeship existed in human culture for thousands of years. It was actually the way to learn. The idea that you go to a school in order to learn things is quite new. Anyway, let's talk about something else. So, Extinction Rebellion, right? The climate activists, they're now, considering the fact that there was a climate conference, now they have hot takes. So you have Roger Hallam, the founder of the Extinction Rebellion. And I gotta say, like these people, they don't live life the way they want other people to, but they're really good at scaring people. Like, they write some of the best fear porn that exists on the internet. They should own the website Creepypasta by now. They should be able to work at CNN because they do really good horror porn. Look at this one. The endpoint of social collapse is war played out in every city, every neighborhood, every street. This is what's going to happen to your generation, and this appalling situation is liable to become commonplace. A gang of boys will break into your house demanding food. They will see your mother, your sister, your girlfriend, and they will gang rape her on the kitchen table. They will force you to watch, laughing at you. Like some people are into that. At the end, they will accuse you of enjoying it. They'll take a cigarette and burn out your eyes with it. You will not be able to see anything again. This is the reality of climate change. Roger Hallam wrote this, founder of Extinction Rebellion. Another passage says, what is about is mental collapse, the loss of your dreams and being dragged off to be slaughtered in a war. It's about being brutalized, it's about rape and slow starvation ending in early death for the thousands of millions of young people around the world today. These people are mentally insane. And also, why do they describe socialism from my country? Like they're very accurate in describing my nation's socialism. The heck is that going to do with climate change? Oh, it's because people go hungry. And when people go hungry, apparently, they take it out on your mother. Who wants to tell V that business loans exist? Are they backed by the government? And do they get to be given to 18 years old? Because that's the thing. If you're an 18-year-old and you go to the bank and you ask, hey, I need $100,000 to open a business, they will laugh their ass off at you. They will call the Rothschilds with a helicopter to come to that bank so they can all laugh at you. But if you say, hey, I need $100,000 to become an expert of the queer studies, to be a homosexual guru, like, noble profession, I have to add that, but they will immediately tell you where to sign. A gang of boys, orange clockwork, yes. Sounds like Berlin 1945. Man, sounds like everywhere the Red Army went. And everywhere the Red Army went, climate change was soon to follow. As described by Extinction Rebellion. Alright. Apparently this happened. The gay guru. So this happened. By the way, if you get to queer studies and you're a homosexual, does it at least help you find a better boyfriend? Like, does it give you dating tips at the queer studies or not? Probably not, right? Marlene Manson and Justin Bieber and Kanye West apparently were all partaking into a religious ceremony. Well, they were doing a prayer. Okay, that's what they were doing. They were doing a prayer. So, the people that are most upset about this aren't the Christians, believe it, is the leftists. Like, leftists are absolutely livid that this has transpired. They're acting the same way that my mother would act if she saw a Satanist cult on television. I'm not kidding. Like, it's almost like the roles are reversed now, and you see, like, the left being, like, hyper-Christian, and they're seeing a Satanist cult on TV, and they're freaking out about it. The musical trinity, yes. Can you imagine if they will sing a song together? Like if Marilyn Manson, Kanye West, and Justin Bieber play a song together? My God, that would be so interesting. So, the reason this is fascinating is because Marilyn Manson, from what I know, he is affiliated with the Church of Satanism, right? Now, I don't know if he still is, or was. Like, probably was, because... But it's baffling everyone, right? Because the fans of Marilyn Manson might now be baffled, and it's like, well, did he lie to us? Like, is he misleading us? Is he leading us astray from the gospel of Satan? The Christians, from what I saw, like, and this is universal, by the way. Every single Christian that has posted on Twitter was saying something like, even if I have doubts, we should still give him an opportunity. Like, every single Christian was like, yeah, you know, I don't know if it's true. I mean, I know he's a troll. But what if it's legit? What if it's legit? Let's give him the opportunity. Let's not, you know, try to push him away. I mean, if this is his path in life, maybe he's trying to find redemption, why not? And the only people butthurt, the only people asmad about this are the leftists. I mean, just so you can understand how asmad they are, look at this. This is the level of asmad. Justin Bieber just said, we cast out any demonic presence on this day in the name of Jesus, and Marilyn Manson nodded. And then you have the inability of formulating words. Okay, so it's DK... Look at the keyboard, DKJF, like, he's really upset. Like, this caused us hurt. It causes us mad. The boot cancer. The boot cancer is coming. And by the way, what I don't get is that they're saying, oh, he's doing this in order to get away from the controversy. So I understand that I'm not sharing the right screen. Yes, I'm sharing the right screen. Shut up. Pray to the Pope, conversion to Catholicism. No, GPG. Well, they're mad about the fact that A, Christianity, right? B, it's uniting 3 different people under the same ideology, like it's something that's uniting rather than dividing people. And they don't like when celebrities are becoming Christians. They really hate it. For example, the voice of Mario, they despise the choice because he's a Christian, right? So you will notice that if you look at Hollywood, there's probably like 3 or 4 celebrities that are openly Christian. Like most celebrities either are atheists and they're open and proud about it, or they're very quiet, or they're Muslim. But you won't find celebrities that are like, yeah, I'm an evangelical Christian, and they're open about it. Now, what I want to say is that what's interesting is that they're saying, okay, so Marilyn Manson is trying to get rid of his controversy. So from what I know is like the man is accused of having abused women. There's like 20 women that came forward. So I don't know. I haven't looked into it. I have no idea whether he did or not. I know there's a lawsuit happening. So how would the lawsuit not happen just because he's a Christian? Like how would Kanye West defend him from the long arm of the law? Absolutely ridiculous statement to make. Secondly, I don't think Christians are going to buy Marilyn Manson's album unless he starts singing Christian rock. And to be honest, if Marilyn Manson starts singing Christian rock, I would buy his albums. And I'm not even a Christian. Because I would just be fascinated by it. It's like, okay, let's see if someone who was a Satanist, what does he understand by Christianity? Like, what is his take on it? So I would actually definitely listen. And then you also have the fact that it's Kanye West, right? I mean, Kanye West wouldn't just a lot, like, post himself next to Marilyn Manson unless he believed the guy, because I assume like they talked before this. I assume they exchanged words. It's not like he picked him up out of the crowd. I'm slowly turning to God. No, I just like the community and the ideology of religion. I don't think I can believe in God. Mercy and forgiveness are unique Christian values. They are Christian, your society become. I don't know if mercy and forgiveness are unique to Christianity. I think mercy and forgiveness exist in other human cultures as well. But yeah, I mean, the concept of repentance is very different than what the Asians have. So in Christianity, we have a culture of guilt. And in collectivist nations, you have a culture of shame. So culture of guilt is an individual thing. Like, you did something bad, and it's between you and God. Like, you need to feel guilty that you did something bad. And it's an inner suffering. It's an inner struggle. Like, you're regretting what you did. And in the hopes that you will then ask for forgiveness. And once the person forgives you, there is a contract that you're not going to do the same thing again, right? So as long as the asking for forgiveness is genuine, and you really feel sorry about it, and you're not going to do it again, it's like learning a lesson. In collectivist cultures like China, even Japan, South Korea, when you do something bad, it's not just on you. Like, you're hurting your entire family. Because you don't live in a society the same way we live here in the West, right? Like, you do something bad, well, you go to prison, you're the one responsible. No, like in collectivist society, it's your tribe, so your entire family can be held responsible for what you did. In certain extremes, like in North Korea, your entire family can go to prison. Like, if you try to jump over the border, they will lock you up and lock your family up. And if you look at the history of Korea, they would even have punishment that if a person did something bad, like, for example, insulted a noble, his entire family would get decapitated. So that's a collectivist culture. Like, you share responsibility with your entire family. So you can be punished for something your father did or for something your son did, right? Even though you didn't do anything. Now, they have a shame culture. So a shame culture is that if you look at a corporation and let's say they do something bad, Fukushima, right? So in Fukushima, let's say they have the radiation, right? The levels are rising and someone is to be blamed. So the company will out a person that they consider should have been responsible. The person makes a public apology. And after that, no one associates themselves with the person ever again. But I guess like the honor of the company is restored. So it's kind of like a scapegoat. That's how companies do things. And this is like different than the Christian version, right? Because the Christian version is like you feel sorry, you apologize, and you're forgiven if you don't do it again. In a shaming culture, it's like you get shamed and no one in the public ever trusts you again, right? There is no moral lesson. It's just like don't associate with this person. And because of this, you have high suicide rates in Japan. Like, this is one of the reasons, right? People are afraid of going out because they can make a mistake and it will hurt their entire family. Depends on what type of Christianity it is. I don't know all the sects, but like Orthodox, Evangelicalism, Catholic, they're all based on the guilt culture. Christianity tends to bash on narcissism, including ideologic narcissism. And the far left is all about virtue signaling narcissism. I don't know if that's really the case. I mean, I did meet a lot of religious people that instead of virtue signaling, they were piety signaling. And they were like, oh, and I did this and that. And why aren't you doing this and that? I guess like the actual word of the Bible doesn't really allow narcissism. Anyway, let's see. It's been an hour, so I'll sit here for like 10 more minutes. If you guys want to donate so I can buy a cup of coffee, I would be appreciating. My God, do you know like I can't buy cups of coffee anymore because of the quarantine? So Romania is under quarantine. 4 weeks to flatten the curve. I guess the government was a little bit more proactive. And yeah, I can't go to the mall to buy coffee. But I did have money from you guys to buy coffee, so when the mall finally opens, I don't know if the store is going to manage to fit with my demand. I don't know if they're going to have the supply for my caffeinated needs. Zigzag, if I get a super chat, I won't delete. There you go. Do you see what a snake oil salesman I am? I'm blackmailing you, Zigzag. Blackmailing you. Don't leave. Stay for 24 hours. I would stay for 24 hours, but I wouldn't have anything to talk about. I mean, I talked about the important things. I actually talked about what I'm going to make on my channel tomorrow. So, yeah. No, I think it's more than 50 cups of coffee. I mean, I got a lot of donations. And I have a choice. Do I pay for my mortgage or do I buy coffee? Difficult. Do you know how bad it is not to have coffee? You get a headache. Caffeine withdrawal is horrible. Thank you, J.A. Look, Zigzag, you're in luck. I'm not deleting it now. Yeah, I don't know how the EFAP guys do it. I don't know. Like 4 or 5 hour stream, it's insane. It's but then again, like they don't stream every day, so I think like that's one of the ways they managed to pull it off. South Europe have Australia levels of lockdown. Yeah, that's true. They do. It's really freaky. It's been a while how I've been doing as the cancer watcher. Believe it or not, I'm doing fairly well. Like everything is going fine right now. So hopefully things will stay the same. Just came back from a live Q&A with Biden, and the hack media literally asked about Republicans lying about CRT. They literally said lying. Yeah, I mean, this actually works if people don't know what CRT is, but I'm pretty sure like the parents know. And I'll tell you why they actually found out. Because usually the parent goes to work, you know, stays for 10 hours, comes home, is tired, doesn't really have time to look at and ask the kid what he learned at school. But because of the pandemic, one of the biggest benefits, the positives, there aren't very many, in fact there are very few, but there are a couple, and one of them is that kids had to study from home. This is the worst mistake that the establishment has done by locking the schools and forcing the kids to learn from home, because now parents actually heard. And there are parents of all races and creeds saying that, okay, so I was at home and my kid was learning and I heard the teacher talking about how white kids need to feel guilt and black kids need to be in this side of the class, and they were segregating them based on race. Now the parent doesn't understand what CRT is, doesn't know, but what he knows is that what he heard the teacher say is fucked up. That's what he knows. You don't need to be an expert on things in order to understand that something is bad for you. This should go to your coffee machine fund so you don't have to buy coffee cups. But even a coffee machine has cups. And you still need to put the liquid into a cup. Thank you, Rusta, and thank you, Master Dravle. I don't feel like I'm talking to walls anymore. No, but think about it. Like a lot of people don't understand economy. How many people study economy? Not a lot, right? But people understand that if the government wants to increase spending, their taxes will somehow go up. Because you don't need to understand economy to know that the government isn't producing money. He is taking money from citizens. And if the government wants to have like $1 trillion expense plan, he needs to take money from someone else. So you don't need to graduate university to understand this shit. Right? So people have like this instinctive knowledge, like, hold on a little bit, something's off. It's the same with CRT. I mean, they don't understand the ideology, but like, for example, if you're a parent that loves the United States and you hear that someone says and you see on television that students are pulling down Thomas Jefferson statues and they're spray painting over Lincoln statues, you're wondering, okay, who are these people? They're students. Where did they learn this shit from? From the university. Something is bad at the university. That's the conclusion, right? Like, they don't know what it is. They don't know the university courses. But they can figure it out that is the common denominator. It's the university. It's kind of like Sargar Ovakad, what was it, like 6 years ago? He was like, we need to suspend university courses. And people freaked out. It's like, no, that's censorship, blah, blah, blah. He didn't really understand what was going on. He just started his YouTube channel, but he noticed that a lot of the bullshit that was trickling down was from universities. Like, with his limited understanding of what was going on like 6 years ago, he noticed that all of these ideologies that are dividing people and they're trying their best in order to turn citizen against citizen is coming from the university. I wouldn't know what to talk about. You could stream snipe Uzalu to pass the time. I don't really stream snipe people. I don't like it. Unless it's like a very interesting stream. The Great Leap Forward brought the USA. Yes, they're literally claiming that every single parent and student is lying. They are gaslighting people. That's what they're doing. But, yeah, thank you guys for the donations. Thank you for listening to this. I hope you enjoyed it. And I'll see you tomorrow on my main